Hello,
action. Hey, Larry, we're back.
hello, Ralph.
Hey there. I have my trusty producer back on duty over here, so I don't have to go looking around to see where crazy things are. So I get to actually look sort of in even in some way over here, shape or form. So
That's
that's very helpful. Larry, what have you been doing in this last week? Any cloudy type stuff, or have you just been
there.
heads down on something else?
So are we gonna talk about the um, I don't know, the did we talk about the Facebook thing last time?
No, we did not.
I think that's
We're
the
going.
elephant. I
Yeah,
think
that's the elephant in the room.
if we're
Yeah,
gonna talk about cloud, we have to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And
this is true. We talked
man,
about the big stuff. Raquel, by the way, reminded me like places like Kickstarter and those places. As much of the freedom that you get for all those apps and the ability that anyone can go up and make an app and put it out there in the store. Yeah, they like say less than nice and more maybe say nefarious types will be doing the same. So she
right.
just warned me. Hey, so with Kickstarter, a lot of scams over there. Watch out for those. I said, yes, we promoted it, we showed it and stuff like that, but
We do
uh,
have to talk about the bad part as well,
the
right?
bad
There
part
are
of the cloud and the bad part of the stuff, yes, the seedy underbelly. Maybe we should just make this all black and white, film noir version. I get my black and white filter over here. Next time we'll put that on. I'll have
yeah.
Raquel ready. We'll go film noir every time we have to talk the dark side.
Talk about the bad stuff.
Note for
Well,
next
I
time.
mean, so Facebook, everybody knows Facebook, and all those apps were down. The issue was an internal router problem. They had a configuration that got put out
It's
that
always a
basically,
router problem. Why is it always a
uh,
configuration? It's so simple, right? Or
well,
is it?
but see, the the internet really is a network of networks, and what they had accidentally done was remove themselves from the network, so they were no longer forwarding, no longer giving path information, and the it was kind of a cascading error for them as well, because that took down DNS, and then DNS took down internal services,
Hmm.
and that meant that really they weren't able. So it really comes down to something that's really kind of cute. In their data center, they had servers that were in racks,
Yep.
and those racks were locked,
Hmm.
and the application that controls the lock on the the rack that had the
Uh-huh.
machine that they needed to put the new code in,
Right.
that application was dependent on something that was inside the rack.
Uh-oh.
So they weren't able to open the rack
So they like
using
lock
their
the keys
card.
inside the car situation.
So they had the keys locked in the car, so they had to break in basically. Uh, but then they were able to get the change made, and it rippled back out.
Right.
But it's interesting because, for example, the company that I'm working for, we use Facebook Workspaces. That's one of our collaborative tools,
Oh
and it
boy.
was down, and it was just,
Oh no.
uh, oh no,
You had a snow day.
we had a snow day. Yeah.
No one's going to work. Oh my gosh. Well, see, here's the thing. This is infrastructure as code stuff. It's if
Yes.
you fat finger your whatever it is that you're doing, and then it's in the automated system, it's going faster. Well, I mean, the here, infrastructure code, I love it because it makes everything work exactly the same always, and there's less chance of problems going on. However, if there is a problem, it's now at an enterprise scale. It goes,
Yeah. So like I said, it was a cascade. They actually did have code quality checks in place, and
uh-huh.
it was on an automated deployment, but the code quality checks had a bug that missed this bug. That,
Oh,
I mean, it's just one of those, man, it was just a bad week, I guess.
whoa.
Um, so yeah,
Yeah. So, I mean, every time though I see a lot of these, it's like people think nefarious means of getting it. Denial of service, for example,
there are
or
rumors. There are rumors that,
hackers.
because the leak happened recently with Facebook, maybe
Oh,
maybe it
that
was
leak. Yeah.
retaliatory. Yeah, there's all sorts of.
It's like
fun
you can't pay
conspiracy
attention to
theories.
someone.
But
Here's the thing, though. It's like those people that would have the power to do something of that scale. They
Mhm.
probably know about you already. I mean, it's not like, oh, Facebook. Oh, those guys. Oh, I
Guys.
forgot to attack them. Yeah, right. You all of this time you could have done such a thing. This is why I knew when this problem happened, it was a coincidence that that happened and this came in. Now it could have been that maybe the person, one of the workers, were so offended to hear about their new company, Facebook, being involved, and then decided to turn off the quality check.
No, no, you knew. No, 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 no. They knew. None of this is news to people that are insiders. I mean,
This is true.
it's all the good things. But
It's all a good. They know what's going on. So here, it's the
yeah,
thing.
distracted. Maybe
Distracted.
if we want to, maybe they were distracted because they were watching it on you know CNN or
Right.
C-SPAN.
They always have this in the movies. They have the security guys that are watching, like all of a sudden they'll distract something else. They're all watching that video. And then over here, they do and they replace the screen and all of a sudden it's frozen. And then they go behind and start robbing the bank.
Yeah.
So it's a distraction. Now, we don't, because of the scale. And here's the thing conspiracies, the way they work is, the more people you add to a conspiracy, the less chance it's going to succeed. Simple as that, right? I'm going to have to tell everyone straight out. There is no such thing as a conspiracy where half the world is part of it. That's not a conspiracy anymore. That's called a fact of life of something that's actually happening, and everyone knows about it, and the other half just simply refuse to accept it, whatever that is, right? This is the case over here too. It's not a conspiracy, not a problem. It is okay, we did this. This particular chain of events happened to be in the right order where it happened, and it's
Well, and
done.
and
And they
see
knew how to fix it though.
if you've got a few people that are in on a secret, and the secret stays quiet and nobody really knows, that's one thing. But
Yeah.
this blew up so big,
Yeah.
somebody's got, if it were a conspiracy and there were people, that were laughing
Yep.
behind their hands,
Right.
somebody would have told by now, really, as
Right.
well, because
Somebody would have given it up. Somebody would have would not be able to keep their trap there. What was that? Do you remember that movie it was Superman 2, one of my favorite movies of all time. Because this one was Richard Pryor. And I mean, this was a very groundbreaking movie for a lot of what it did, stereotypes and everything else. Richard Pryor learning how to program. And then one of the things he learns when he gets a good job program, he's like very impressed that he got a big check. He's like, is this really, does that got zeros in there? I said, yeah, that's your check. Oh, great. And he learns that he's looking at the money. Hey, what happens to those extra half a penny for the calculations? Oh, nothing. They go into nowhere. So that means nobody would miss.
average out,
They're
right?
they're going out. So he started collecting all those pennies, and then all of a sudden, all this money was lost. And then Lex Luthor and company were like, "Ah, what happened to all the money?" This is like, for those who don't remember this is called the Superman 2 moment. So they're like, and then they're like, my God, they'll be halfway to Brazil by now. They're gone. We'll never get them. And all of a sudden, they look outside, and who's pulling up with a nice new brand new car? But Richard Pryor. All right. Clearly, though, a person at that time, if you're doing the stereotypes, would not have been the type to have owned such a vehicle. I mean, the obvious, like, hey, I did it.
Yeah.
Come get me. And then, of course, he brings his plans and all that good stuff. But still, that was the idea, though. The idea of the conspiracy. One person can do it. When it starts spreading out, all it takes is just that one to leak it. For that matter, now the AI is getting better, where even the AI sometimes does the slip up. Right? You're doing something, it's like, and then the AI, through audit logs or whatever, spits out that information. It's like, oh, I told the AI not to do that. Well, there's a bug in the AI. That same bug that you exploited, it outed you.
It outed you. Yeah.
Guess what?
So another thing that's happening now as well, though, we have partners that are in Manila, right? And
right.
they've all lost internet access because of the typhoon. So
weather. This is
weather. It's real clouds that are impacting our work with
our cloud.
With
yep.
These digital clouds. And it's nice that we have a global workforce because we have other areas that can take up the slack, but it's still impactful on regions. So
so I've seen those. Did you see those? Like, they're like data centers that like are submerged now or submersible.
Right. No. Yes. Microsoft has the machines that they put under the sea.
Yes. I mean, it keeps them cool because It's really cool down there. I
Right.
don't know how they do with the pressure and stuff. I'm wondering if that's after a while when will it be how does that work?
Well, the last I saw, they were like just basically big capsules, right?
Yes.
So they're like little submarines that they put down, and yeah, I think they use a rarefied gas on the
Now,
inside as
that's
well.
something that could probably work in the Philippines too, potentially, right? The only issue, of course, is even though you have all that, at some point something has to connect to something else,
Right.
and you'll always be something. There'll be a sunspot. There'll be a I don't know, giant squid cracking, cut your line. I don't know,
Well,
something happens, going to come and do it, right?
right. What happened off the coast of California, which is not cloud related, but yeah, somebody's anchor.
Yes. Oh,
Uh,
so that could have been a line, a big
that could
fiber that
it
was
could have
going
been
through it.
fiber optic. Yeah.
That came right through. Exactly. In that particular case, unfortunately, it was an oil line, but just as easily. So I'm
Hmm.
like, what is the solution? You know what? I thought the 13s were going to come out with the satellite ability, but they did not. But that would be the next one. It's like you have your cell phones, like everything's down. Wait, I got satellite, and there's only like so many satellites up there. Are there so many satellites up there now? If you try to go up, you're probably going to hit something. It feels like the way it
Yeah, we're
looks,
getting
it's like a
close.
cloud.
Right, we're
It's
getting close to that. There,
like
yeah,
that
that's
movie
been
Wall-E, where they
something they've
showed the
talked
entire
about.
planet completely all covered with all junk in space, in near the low Earth orbit.
Space trash is a big deal.
Space
Well,
trash.
and at least we're sending our billionaires up there, though, right?
Well, yeah.
At
If they
least,
went and cleaned up while they were up there, that'd be great. Like
well, yeah, it would be nice if that while you're up there, just pick something up.
pick
You
something
know,
up. Yeah.
a little better than it was.
Hey,
That's the Boy
Remember that
Scout
sign you put
motto.
up in the canteen that said, "Hey, your mom doesn't work here." Same thing.
There you go. There you go. Take just when
Take
you
it to
go
the
up,
next
bring
level.
something down. Just bring
Yes.
something. Anything.
Actually, my daughter, my 5-year-old said like, "Oh, that'd be a great business. Just go up and collect all that. That'd be a lot of metal, wouldn't it?" I'm like,
Hmm. Hmm.
hmm, this makes sense. And then I saw one of these sci-fi shows where that's exactly what they do, right? It just basically they just scour the earth because there's so much of that detritus all over the place, but not just eventually on Earth. Eventually, it'll probably be out somewhere else, and that's all they do. They collect all the old metal and bring it all back, and basically you have it recycled. And then my daughter's like, "Oh yeah, I have to have my mining asteroid spaceship because we can't mine on Earth anymore." And this is the 5-year-old. She's coming up with all these grand ideas on how to do stuff. I know we've seen them before. This is not
Yeah.
the first time, but before we're like, yeah, it's like the Jetsons. We're like, okay,
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
get our flying
We're
car, but
closer now, though.
we're
Yeah.
closer now. Though it's scarier actually. And here's the thing: all this cloud tech that we're talking about actually brings us there. And her
Right.
question was like, well, how come there's not anymore? Why can't we have the flying cars? Was the question. It's like, well, other than you've seen people drive, right? You're going to trust those people to fly. Okay.
Right.
Now, what do you get? Where do you have to get? Well, you've seen some of these auto cars, and you've seen that they're not exactly quite there yet. They're getting
They're
close.
they're getting closer.
The
Right.
secret, I think, to that is, of course, that power, that ability, the AI ability. Because if there's an AI that's at least not ready to kill you because they know you're human, they will essentially be your co-pilot, for lack of a better term.
Right.
That
Well,
would make
see,
the sky
and
safer.
before we go to 3D, we need to get 2D fixed.
That's right.
And as soon as we get 2D fixed, then people are going to start working on 3D because we have the energy density to be able to have flying cars right now. I mean, there are the equivalent of those. There are people that are doing all sorts of little air taxis
Sure.
that are not helicopters, but um, we're just not there as far as compute power, and you have to be a pilot. And
Right.
I mean,
The compute power, again, it takes that off your hands. It's like, I'm going up there, here's where I want to go. You're not exactly driving it. Or if you try to, just like in a game, right? If you try in some games, there's certain games that when you try to walk off a cliff, it basically stops you. You can only go where the game allows you to go. And if
yeah,
it allows you to get killed there, it's because it's designed by the game.
right.
Versus like a
Well,
Halo, where yeah, you could fall off,
you,
and yes,
you
you've
die.
made it so that you can die on purpose, right?
So it's like the bumpers in the bowling alley,
Yeah,
right?
there we go.
Yeah, you put up the rails, and I like bowling with them. I think they're great.
Actually, that's actually a nice training tool. In fact, I
Yeah.
have to remember that now for the 5-year-old ready to
Mhm.
get out there again pretty soon. But
Yeah,
here's
your 300s don't count though if the rails are up. I don't think
guardrails.
the
Guardrails a good
guardrail.
concept. Guardrails is it's a G word that rhymes with governance. That's my
Yes.
favorite topic, as you know. That's my favorite topic with everything else.
Right.
Governance, in other words, the reason why these things happen bad is because your governance has a issue. It's not a bug in the software; it's your bug in your governance. If your governance was such that it did not allow that to even be conceived, you would be okay. If your governance allows this to be conceived, however, within a control, within, as they say, the
Right,
guardrails,
because you have to put the controls up. If
right?
you right, if you
And
if
this
you
is
open that door, you've got to
right.
put guards.
This is just process. This is just someone deciding,
Yeah.
like, okay, these people will have access and those people will not. This is the kind of review we're going to have, and to this level and this many hours, this is what we care about, and this is what we don't care about. That kind of rules. And here's the thing: I think the key stakes for a lot of things right now, for a lot of things, even though we can just do whatever we want and play, it's really not that. There's governance there that we don't see
Right.
these days. So in those platforms like using a Facebook or using a Google or anything else, there's lots of governance there that we just don't see. It's happening
Right.
somewhere else. But when we're doing our own stuff, applying our own, I'm telling you, that saves you in the end. All that work, essentially, imagine like the Oklahoma gold gland rush back in the day when they just
Yeah.
opened up, everyone went crazy nuts. Now, had they like maybe had like kiosks and they took their ticket. Here's your place where you're gonna go only to your destination, doing whatever else. Might have been organized. Of course, like that would exist back then,
You
but
got a test that you got to take to make sure
you
that
got to
you're
test
reasonable. Yeah.
exactly before all those like extra wheels get light out from the.
Well, Oregon Trail, better than the Gold Rush. Let's do Oregon Trail because then we could talk about dysentery.
Yes. Oh, that's my favorite. It was like in dysentery. It's like, oh, from what they ate. So
Yeah.
the idea, of course, in that case is if governance preceded the Oregon or anything else, then would it have been better? Or would it have delayed progress? There's things like, oh,
Right.
you can't delay progress. You just got out there and make it happen. It's like, well,
See,
here's a
that's what
case.
you trade off. You trade off speed for protection, and that's okay. I mean, that's what we do in everyday life, right? You wouldn't take a you wouldn't I would hope that you wouldn't take a bicycle, strap a big engine on it, and try to go 200
Uh,
miles an
I,
hour on it.
I think there's a movie on exactly that. I think
Yeah.
some sort of let's just say they didn't name themselves very nicely on that movie.
Yes, yes.
Uh,
But
uh,
the problem with that is, I mean, it's not set up for that speed. You don't have brakes that can handle it. The steering is way too loose for going that fast. There are reasons that you have motorcycles that are engineered to work at that speed.
mhm.
There's a reason. And when you're riding a motorcycle, you're wearing different gear than when you're riding a bicycle.
That's true.
Right? You got your leathers on, you got your helmet. You should wear a helmet on
Even the
both.
mindset of the person getting on a motorcycle is different than a mindset of a
It's
person getting on a bike.
Yes, it's different. Now,
Right.
neither one are bad. Neither one are flawed. They both are suited for the purpose that
Suited
they
and
use.
appropriate for the purpose.
Right.
Yes.
And that's the way our software is as well. So these
Ah,
governance things, the whole idea of putting governance and putting these locks in place, putting, you know, either quality gates or security gates
right.
to make sure that code goes through them. We're really trying to slow it down enough to be able to process it effectively and efficiently. So
Yes.
it is slower. You give up a little speed, but you gain a lot of security.
Right.
You have to make that trade-off. I mean, one of the reasons why startups work so well and enterprises go so
Fair
slowly,
enough.
right? I mean,
But it's also why startups go
it's right.
just as easily.
They can also flash like flash paper and just be
Uh,
gone.
yep, and be gone. So here's the thing. I think where am I going with this? Where I'm actually going into like uh for the folks, and maybe I'll give Minecraft as an example. Minecraft is such a big, huge game, really,
Open world,
because you
right?
can do so many little itty bitty things. There's so many like nuanced settings for everything. And the game basically rewards those who take the time to go through and visit every possible setting and make it happen. Maybe for like just simple, pure, and I will call it lustful joy. They can go out and just, I'm just going out there and just, slash some goblins and I'm happy and I'm done. Or once they go through and meticulously set something up, they can like, wow, I have something to show for. This is the same thing. So if you're like using something like, I don't know, M365 or even your Excel sheet or whatever, learning and finding out what all those little settings are. Have you ever like gone to file settings or just account settings for like Outlook or something and look at all what used to be only like 10 or 12 things, now hundreds of like little items. And
Right.
just one day, take time to just, I know you've probably never done this, especially if you haven't done this in a while. Take a little bit of time and visit all these settings and look and see, I've never seen that before. Explore them a little bit.
Why would you
Because
want to change that?
why would you want to change? Exactly. Ask that
Well,
question.
the reason that feature is there is because somebody needed it. I mean, Microsoft is really good at
Getting everyone's feedback to make
getting
things happen.
everyone's feedback. Right.
Yes. And I mean, and even though you may not need it and stuff, you may not touch it. But here's the thing. When you visit and take the time to visit a lot of these settings, especially when they come to security settings or things that are actually close to security, what's an idea of security? Something as innocuous as your signature on your email. Well, why are you putting your Facebook address there with your business address on your reply email? That's actually a security breach. Or you're putting too much information. You got pictures of your kids, maybe like literally on your account, everything else that people can see. So something as innocuous as that is a security governance situation. And maybe there's a governance that says, hey, there's always going to be a disclaimer that's on every bottom of every mail. That's got to be there no matter what you do. We're going to tag that on there. Otherwise, if you're by yourself, maybe you want to follow that practice. Put that tag on there. But how would you know to do that until you visited and saw where people did this? Look, if you're using something a lot, especially something that's visible to everyone, and I think that's the thing with cloud stuff. Oh, so the second thing is after looking at those settings, as they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But we're going to add the caveat. Maybe you want to automate it, because if we can find what those settings are, sometimes you can say, oh, those are the settings. If I want to do this again, is there a way to capture said information? And guess what? That's what all this infrastructure of code stuff is all about. And a lot of these systems now have like ARM templates as an example of the old way of like, I'm just going to capture a way to run a
snapshot
and poof, and set something up to look exactly the same. I mean, the VMs, the original idea of VMs was exactly that. Right. All I am is just, these are just instructions. I'm going to put together what exists and rebuild it on the fly for you. And it's going to look like the program that you think it is, but actually it's just a shell. We're running the actual program, and here's the shell that's doing the building behind the scenes over here. Right.
Well, and so what I like to think about too is if you think about those as knobs that are turned in order to optimize your system. Well, I mean, the very first movie, right, that was talking about, had robots, things like that. Metropolis had humans that were just sitting around and turning knobs. That's all they did.
That's all they did.
Well, I mean, that's what we built AI for. And if you look at, Microsoft is devoting a lot of time and energy into it. If you look at Viva, which launched recently,
oh my gosh,
it's nothing but AI, and it's all about curating and really putting some governance in place. All of those things can build up and be used to automate this and put those guardrails in place that are soft. They're a little spongy, right?
Exactly.
They give you some move.
Yes, they do. So like, remember, like there could be hundreds of those settings, but that's where your AI comes from. Maybe the AI will ask you look at your profile, look at your company profile, look at where you are in this country. Are you in Germany? Are you in the United States?
Mm-hmm.
And quickly, just from the profile along, using its intelligence, put together the pieces. But at the very least, give you the presentation that says, okay, human, these are all the settings I've done. You have a chance to review it now or forever hold your peace. Well,
these are the ones that are most applicable to you.
Yes.
And really, really not a context menu within your environment, but a context menu within your environment.
Yes. I mean, the
You
whole
know,
thing. I mean, look at your profile. It takes your
right?
profile, it takes your organization. And then it says, based on the other organizations that have been now around for the last 2 years in
Yes.
this area doing exactly the same thing, we're looking at what we're doing, and here's what you're doing. We're going to make these
We
adjustments
suggest, yes, we make suggestions. Or we just flat out make adjustments. If you turn it on to an automatic run,
to automatic,
where
right?
we're gonna bring you up to best practices.
Thing though, the AI is doing this, but then at the end of the day, unless you want the robot master to completely take over, you need to understand at least what the
Right.
heck is it doing. So
At
let's remember I
least
told you to go
understand what
visit,
it's doing.
as I told you to go visit those settings, even though in the end, maybe the AI will potentially handle that for you.
Yeah.
Understanding what's there. So when suddenly something happens, it's like, oh, why did that happen? Well, the AI clearly made a decision that you probably are not, you probably, now that you've seen it, are not good with, but now you know where to fix it, right? Or you understand why it made that decision. And maybe you might think, oh, maybe that's actually, when I think about it, that's actually a good idea. It took out my Facebook name from that thing because why did it do that? I put that Facebook name in there. I wanted it to stay in there. Why did it take it out? And if AI is like, security, it's like, oh,
Fishing, right?
okay.
Yeah.
All right, you're right. Yeah, it's like when you're going outside and then all of a sudden your mom pulls you back in. You're supposed to wear shoes. I wanted to go out in the snow without shoes. Okay, fine. Yeah, probably a good idea,
Yeah,
mom. I'm gonna wear
jacket. Come
shoes.
on.
I'll wear shoes. Okay. That's the fun stuff. So we started with the underbelly, as they say, of things that
Mhm.
can go wrong. Moving into the concept of like, well, there are settings, there's governance, there's AI, and all the pieces that can help us. But in the end of the day, it's like it's still up to us to look at the little pieces. I think that's our day to day right now. Even me, at what I'm doing these days. I'm not like still doing what you're doing with in the development side, but like on the more like on the planning, the architect side, actually it becomes more important because of the architect side, we can design the holes to the system. So that little port that was able to go into the Death Star, that was a good old architect that came up with that long before they started building it, and the people building it didn't realize that. Oh, no, no, no. People always ask like, "Why was there? That was too easy. Who put that in there?" And then they made Rogue One, and they said, "Oh,
Oh, that was all.
that's how that
How
happened." That's
that.
why that was actually a good movie because they actually not only closed that gap, they made it a cool movie, but they actually finally said, "Okay,
Oh,
this
right.
is why
Spoilers.
stupid
I'm
stuff
sorry.
can
Yeah.
happen."
We need to
Oh
put a
yeah, it's a
spoiler
spoiler
alert on
alert. Oh
this.
yeah,
Sorry.
we're gonna put there, Raquel. Let's put there spoiler alert for those who haven't seen Rogue One, Star Wars. Uh, do not go past whatever this timestamp is, 31 minutes.
Yeah. So
Raquel will put that in the text.
so the thing is, I mean, we're at the point now that all of this technology is really helping put us into places and mind spaces that we couldn't be in before,
Indeed.
right? So I had someone ask me yesterday about um, Python, right?
Ah, the
Python.
scripty.
The script thing is, and it's the new sort of black, right? It's everybody is Python, Python, Python. And my response was, well, it's not the new anything. Python's been around pretty much in its same state for 30 years.
Yep.
What's happened is the the way that we're deploying artifacts into the cloud has changed. And Python has built over these years a very large um,
Following
library and
and
following.
library. Yep.
Right? It's in the perfect place at the perfect time. So it's that's how it's sort of the overnight success story, right? You hear people talk about these overnight success stories, the bands that make it, they're an overnight success.
This is a Huey Lewis band because Huey Lewis was like playing for 20 years and then they made it famous. That's
Exactly.
exactly them.
It's yeah, they put the time in. And that's what Python's been doing. Python is it's just it is in the right place at the right time. And it's a nice language. I've got nothing against Python, but it's not something that I've written a lot of code in, and it's not something that really draws me because I'm able to do the things I want to do in C sharp. But
And C sharp or even just PowerShell straight up. I mean,
yeah,
it's a
PowerShell,
script, it's a scripty
the
language,
scripting
right?
language.
It could have been VB scriptish, right? Which is, and then there's like now they're calling things like PowerFX, for example, in the Power Platform. They're doing like just like the like I would call them formula type commands that are in there, right? And the only reason why it's a language is because they put a semicolon at the end of a line. Say, oh, now you're an
Now you're a
actual language.
language.
You have a
Oh, it's like
semicolon. You have something at your end. You have a breakpoint.
embedded.
You're a real language
It's
now.
like VBA, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's okay.
begin end. I mean, we can go crazy on that. This is why when we say Python, we're like, is that a big deal for us? We're like, right. What's it
Yeah.
doing? What's the features? If I'm adding something, do I put it in parentheses? Do I use a plus sign? Do I use multiplication? Do I have a
Yeah.
command that says sum? Do I do something that says run? Or any of those kind of things? Chances
2
are
days, 3
they're all the
days, a
same.
little syntax, a little environment work, and we're able to be productive in it.
We can certainly reverse
Languages are
engineer it. It's not such a big deal. Now, but is it doing something like groundbreaking? Like, is it actually changing the way an interface looks or doing something like that? That's not what it does, right?
No, it's the it has some very interesting libraries that allow you to um, to do things through the command line that normally would come in through a different path. So it works like the old CGI.
Yes.
Remember old CGI?
I remember
So
CGI.
you can have HTTP requests that come in and go in to the program as if they were coming through the command line.
Correct.
And then
It would talk to the command line
now
of
it's on
the
the web.
internet, the IIS server, basically, is what
Right.
it was doing.
Yeah. So Python
It's on
has
the web.
libraries that do that. And
Right.
I mean,
Now, hold on a second. But those libraries, are they also in Python?
yes, they're all
Right.
self-built.
They're all self-built. So that's an interesting thing. It's sort of like the engine. Now, that's where the power is, those libraries, right?
Yeah.
If you didn't have the library, then the language sitting by itself or what it does is not the power. The power is somebody took the time to go and make something work. This is going to now operate the Azure portal. So, okay, well, that's something, right? Now, could I have done that with C#? Yeah. Could I have done that with that? Could my Python have talked to the C# to make that happen? Actually, yes. It could have done that, but they said because it was that easy to do there, we said let's just do it here. But how did that happen? Is because the Azure portal has an API that says talk to me in this way. I don't care who you are, and I will listen to you. Provide your credentials in this particular way, and I don't care who or what you are. Hence, now Python built in a simple outside of the box system, all it has to do is do exactly that. Someone takes the time to follow the instructions and make it nice.
Mm-hmm.
You're done, right? Meanwhile, sometimes some other programs like, oh, I don't want to talk to them because they do things the way I don't like. Well, that was the big problem in the old days. But now, those standards that we used to say only belong to these guys or these guys, they're actually standards, REST standards, API standards. That's a big deal for the cloud, by the way. I think that was also the big difference, making the cloud what it is. In the cloud, if we talk about the democratization of where things are, it's the democratization of how you talk to things.
Right. That interface. Well, and so there was the Betamax version, right? VHS1, right? Sorry, Beta guys.
That's right.
There was the Betamax, which was HyperCards.
HyperCards,
Apple,
yes.
Apple had its own, system of providing and showing information, and
Right.
that did not win. It arguably was better, but it slowly niched itself and went away.
And then SOAP, remember SOAP?
So
now, SOAP is still out there to some extent, right? But if you think SOAP is not REST, those are two.
Yeah, SOAP got killed by industries though.
Right.
I mean, the whole W star, they complicated it to the point that no one could implement it.
They made it too hard.
They made it too hard, and then only they had tools that would allow you to build it, and then no one wanted to play in their sandbox anymore.
So. Well, yeah, it was the cool thing when I started learning it back in the day was it seemed like it was very straightforward. Do it this way, and it'll always work. But then they said, well, now you can customize it. But that was the problem. They let you customize it in such a way that you essentially broke things.
Right.
In 2 seconds you could break something, right?
Right.
And the REST API, you had the concept of the contract was very
Mhm.
very strict, and so when you broke something, it's well, yeah, you knew it, and so in the other one you could break something and you maybe not, they don't know that you broke it. That was the thing. Or it's like it's too obscure. I'm trying to talk to it and try to figure out. Well, I'm looking at your contract. I can't figure it out. That's because you're not supposed to. The contract is really secret. It's over here.
I spent so many hours. You wouldn't believe the number of hours I spent
I believe
reading
you.
through the specs for all the W star stuff, trying to
Oh yeah.
implement it myself because I cheap Larry, I didn't want to spend the money to, to stand up a server that had that kind of built in and baked in.
Right.
Um, and so, yeah,
Ah, those are the
that
times.
was those were the times. So sorry to get back to a little bit of the nefarious stuff so we can go noir again.
Yep.
Um, one of the things that we also talk about on this occasionally is blockchain and cryptocurrency.
Speaking of
Um,
noir stuff.
speaking of noir stuff, so NFTs have been blowing up, and the NFT community is very good. A lot of the blockchains are the same way. They have a lot of really good people that are doing good work, but once you get to a certain size, as we said earlier, the jerks are going to come in, right? The
Yep.
people that are just out to get it to make a buck. So recently, fairly recently, there's an NFT called Evolved Apes. Evolved Apes is a set of NFTs that are kind of cool. They're
Yeah.
interesting. But the creator, Evil Ape, that was his handle. No one really knows who he is. Um, absconded with $2.7 million that was set aside to build applications and to build software that would actually use these NFTs. So what's interesting about it is that people bought the NFTs kind of with the promise that they were going to be used in an application, and that some of the money that they were paying was going to go towards creating that application. But there were no contracts. It's not really even
Wow.
necessarily illegal. It's just really shady. So
Yeah. No. Oh, there was what was the other one company just recently? They gave away accidentally. They sent out like millions of dollars in Bitcoin.
right.
And they
Yeah.
said, could we have it back? They asked nicely. We sent it by mistake. Could you send them back to us, please?
So
Asking nicely.
yeah, well, someone a miner, right? Someone that was actually, you know, doing work for the blockchain and mining coins.
Right.
Um, there was one of those that received something like 3 million, or maybe it was even $300 million worth of re- coins as a reward,
Well,
right?
whoa,
For mining a block, for
whoa,
mining one block,
holy
way
smokes.
out.
What
And
do
he,
I
he
do
did. He
wrong?
gave it back.
Oh,
I mean, he gave it back because that's kind of the spirit of it, right? A lot of people that are in this are good people, but we're
wow.
really starting to see jerks. So you have to be
Gotta be
wary,
careful.
just like Rico was talking about with Kickstarter. When it started, everybody was out there trying to do what they said they were going
And
to do.
GoFundMe, all those places have
Right.
the same issues over here.
They didn't always work, right? Sometimes they would fail, but they were failing from a good place. It wasn't on purpose. But now we have people that are out there just really trying
Yeah.
to rip you off. So be
Still
careful.
have to be careful. This is, again, governance. You go in there, it's like, well, who told you to click on that link? Governance.
Governance. Yes. Uh,
Fact.
that,
The cure to noir is governance. No, actually, sometimes governance makes things look gray too. That's the thing. Is it the gray governance building, or is it the colorful, like you're safe from all? We're in the pony playland with all colors and all that stuff over here. That's another filter we have to get. We have the colorful playland. We got to talk to Raquel. I know
I mean,
she has access to all these filters. I'm pretty sure.
yeah, I don't know that I want to live with a unicorn horn. I'm sorry, that's a little too
Well,
far.
the My Little Ponies, do they have unicorns? No,
No, no, no,
they're
but
just ponies.
they're
Okay,
just. Well, do
they
they
do.
have unicorns
Oh,
as well?
Pegasi. That's you're welcome. Pegasi.
Yeah. See, I'm not a pony. I'm not a brony. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're
I
not a
know
brony.
it's awful.
Oh well,
No, but it's
we'll
just I
we'll
was
figure this
I
out.
lived at the wrong time, right? Mine was Thundercats, and
Thun-
you know,
Thundercats. What was mine?
Big
What?
Cross. Yeah.
Gosh, I grew up. They were still doing reruns of Popeye, but no, I was actually my time would have been the late '60s, early '70s. That means Scooby Doo
Hmm.
and what was it? The Wacky Races. Those crazy shows like that.
Oh man,
The Wacky
Hanna-Barbera's great
Hanna
days.
Barbera. Yes, the Hanna Barbera heyday.
Yes.
Yes. You know, Hanna Barbera. They basically came from Disney.
Well,
Well, that's another story. We can go there, but
it was
their
nothing but
roots.
yeah, nothing but candy floss. That's all it
Yes,
was.
their roots came from Disney. From Disney came about so much stuff. But I want to go there a different time. All right. I think you know what? We got a few minutes that we need to end a little bit early because we have other meetings that we need to get to. And sometimes it's good that we're not like in showbiz mode when we go to our next meeting. I'm just saying, I'm okay. Some of my presentations, I need to be in showbiz mode. I'm
Right.
okay. But some, be all like, well,
Yeah, my next meeting is one that I'm a participant. I'm not a leader.
oh, okay. So that's
So
okay. Just
yeah,
take the mute. You're okay. Now, in my particular case, I do have I need to be. I'll be questioned. I'll be brought up. I was like, okay, Ralph, you have something to say about topic X? Yes. I'm Smee. Smee,
yeah,
subject matter expert.
yeah.
Mr. Smee. Yes, that's
Mr.
me. It's me. I'm gonna be that. So I gotta like get the going.
So let me ask you this, because I mean everybody does it. Hopefully they do it. If you don't do it and you're in a meeting, you're being foolish. Back channels, right? You open up a chat so that the people can talk and chat between themselves on the back channel.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, just
Is there a question?
if you're someone, no, just gonna bring it up.
That's just back channels. Okay, two things. There's like in a Teams meeting or even a Zoom meeting, there's a chat where you have everybody or you can talk to specific people, right?
Mhm.
In Zoom, it's easy to talk directly to someone. Harder to talk to like a few groups. This is what Teams and those kind of programs can do. Slack, for example. The true back channel is just have another meeting in another system, and you have your second screen or something else where you're typing and you're quiet, and you make sure you don't have your video on where they can see your spider fingers doing this typing away. So they know that you're not basically doing
Right.
something. And by the way, don't be doing this while you're in the
Don't use your
meeting.
phone. Right. That's not a good.
That
Not a
that
good
sort
look.
of looks like you're turn off the freaking camera already before you do that. And yeah, and if you have sounds going on, you want to put it on quiet and not hear those like doot, 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 all the time. And then all of a sudden you're looking down and going up. We know what you're doing. You're answering text messages. You're not paying attention. That could be a series right there. Meeting etiquette.
Meeting
Uh,
etiquette.
Etiquette. We might do that. We're going to have guests pretty soon, so we got to come back for that. Speaking of a guest, the one I want to go back to, definitely Joel Olson gave us Syntax. Remember we were talking about Viva and all that stuff?
Yes.
Remember we talked about this is the beginning of something huge?
And now the huge is here.
Huge
It'd
is
be
here.
good to talk to him. Yeah.
He's still the same size though, fortunately, unlike some of us. So we're going to bring him back. I know we have some other guests from.
Yeah,
from
we're
the
gonna get
past.
Rocky.
We're going to get Rocky.
Is gonna come in.
Yes.
Yes.
So coming soon. This is a teaser for our next shows. Yes, watch out for some superpower speakers coming soon.
Yes. Sir.
All right. Okay, Raquel, unless there's anything else, let's do their music out and end our show today. Bye, Raquel. Bye, Larry.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.